Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me if my voice is a little bit low. It's just a little bit late here, and my kitties are sleeping, or at least our kitties are sleeping. And yeah, so I just want to be a little more respectful, and just keep this a little bit more low key. But we got a news roundup for this week. Tons of news actually. One of which actually happened today. We'll get into that in a little bit. But as we always do, we're gonna cut this intro short, and we're just gonna dive right on in. So coming off the weekend, we had a couple of films released. One of which we are going to talk about. The other of which we'll talk about in the box office recaps that we do for the month. But news roundups, we usually reserve these discussions for more notable releases. And for this week, this past weekend, we saw Smurfs be released. Me and my brother are planning on seeing this on Tuesday. Just to be frank, we're just seeing it just purely out of self-indulgence. And well, it seems as though that a lot of other people are not singing that tune because coming off the weekend, Smurfs collected a disappointing global debut of $36 million. In terms of production, the film, or at least the production cost, amount to at least $58 million. No disclosure of any marketing expenses as far as I've read. But if we are to just consider production alone, the film will need to generate at least, by my calculations, $145 million in order to break even. Now, if we're just talking bare minimum, the film will need to make, as I pull up my calculator here, because remember, I judge things based on a 2.5 ratio. But if we're talking about bare minimum, just timesing it by 2, the film will need to make $116 million. So, yeah, clearly not going to happen. Clearly not going to happen. And I don't think this comes as a shock to anyone because of two reasons. One of which is pretty obvious. This franchise has been dead for nearly a decade now. 8 years to be precise, since the last feature was released in theaters, which was Smurfs: The Lost Village, which surprisingly actually turned a profit. I've looked into the finances, and yeah, it actually did end up doing well. But I think that the larger issues that come from this film, outside of just general disinterest for the movie, or just the franchise in general, I think is also a very poorly judged release window. I don't think that this should have been released in the midst of a hot summer season, especially when you're going up against two major superhero properties from two opposing companies. You have, of course, Superman from DC, which just came out the last weekend, and coming into this new weekend, we have, of course, Fantastic Four. So I don't see the rationale behind it. This sort of series is not the equivalent to those kind of juggernauts. It's just not that kind of franchise. And it's never been that kind of franchise ever. It's never ever gotten close to making $1 billion. Like, just out of curiosity, the live action movies, I guarantee you did not make a whole lot of money either. Just looking at real quick, the original Smurfs movie, the first live action film, generated $563 million. That was on a $110 million budget. Smurfs 2 ended up doing $347.5 million on a $105 million budget. So, yeah. So, it's never been a major draw. At least, it's not been since the original live action film from 2011. So yeah. So well over a decade since we've been there. And ever since then, it's been just falling down. Just to give you numbers on Smurfs: The Lost Village, just so we can round it out. That movie made a total of $197.2 million, and that was on a $60 million budget. And you can see as time goes on that, just confidence, expenses, production just keeps getting lower and lower and lower. So, yeah. And as far as I've read also, this was being shopped around. This was like kind of a project that was, I think, initially started at Sony, and then it just made its way to Paramount, or at least the licensing made its way to Paramount. So yeah, this is just and also it's had not the best of reception out there. So there was a lot of things stacking against it. So it's pretty clear that most unanimously just chose to not seek this out or really care. So I feel like this should have come out in August. I think it would have had a little bit of a better start. I'm not saying that it was going to come close to making any money. I don't think generally it was going to make any money, really, to be honest. But I think that it would have had a little bit of a better shot if it was outside of this specific time. But yeah, it just goes to show and confirms that Smurfs is going to be dead for a little while. And I'm surprised that they even want to bring it back. I'm pretty sure it's just a Rihanna thing, a passion project. But we'll see. Me and my brother will check it out on Tuesday, and we'll give you our thoughts then. Or on Wednesday, at least. So. Alrighty, let's get into some interesting stories here regarding, funny enough, talking about Marvel and DC. Let's talk about the trajectory, I should say, for the both their cinematic universes, because they have some interesting developments going on. So we'll first talk about the DC cinematic universe. Of course, Superman being the first of this, so far has generated $400 million coming off of this weekend. Still, again, kind of par for the course of what we expect this to do. Probably going to end up at 600, 700 million. And that's not great. I mean, it would do okay, but it's not the numbers I think the company wants this to do, especially when you consider the investment that's behind it, which we're actually going to get into in a second. But according to Variety, the studio, as of right now, does not intend to announce a follow-up to Superman. So no announcements planned out to be made about a Superman 2. But they have locked in the actors in the event that they choose to, do a follow-up. But according to Variety, the marketing expenses for Superman are actually a little bit more than they initially reported, because they said it was $100 million, and apparently it's a little bit more. So according to Variety, the marketing expenses for Superman amount to nearly $125 million. And we know the production was $225, so this brings it to $350 now as an investment. And that's getting closer to those higher marks. So bare minimum, the film has to do at least $700 million. So James Gunn, I don't know what you were saying in the press, but that's clearly not true, given the numbers that we have here. So, but according to Variety, also the studio is fast tracking a Wonder Woman project, and they are reportedly, quote, thrilled with Matt Reeves' draft for the Batman Part 2, because he recently sent in his draft. Finally, sent in a draft. So it seems as though that, things are happening and not happening. And given just the slate that is currently set for the next 2 or 3 years, our next project is Supergirl, and then we have a Clayface film slated also, it is very essential, especially given what Superman's probably going to end up doing, which may get us close to 700 million. I think that's maximum what the film's probably going to end up doing, is like 700 million. And again, as we've talked about in the last news roundup, that's not particularly strong, especially when you consider all the investments that are behind this thing. Pretty much matching that of Man of Steel. It is very essential to get another of your more notable properties out there soon to keep this from sinking. So it makes total sense to me that they're desperately wanting that Wonder Woman project out there now. It makes sense to me why they're fast tracking it, because they're seeing the trajectory. They're seeing how things are going to play out. They probably are realizing that, you know what, I don't know if that Supergirl project is gonna do as well as it's gonna do. I don't know if Clayface is gonna have those kind of legs. Like James Gunn is betting on uh, creativity to outweigh to outweigh fatigue or any necessity for familiarity. But those components are so vital, especially nowadays, and especially with audience members. They crave familiarity way more than creativity. So, uh, it makes sense when it makes sense to have your big players out there first. It just does. So it makes sense they want a Wonder Woman project out there soon, and of course they'd want Matt Reeves to move forward with with the Batman Part Two. I think that they're hoping for more familiar faces to start rolling out soon, maybe as soon as like 2027, hopefully, with a Wonder Woman and a Batman project out there. Um, I think that that's what they're hoping for now, because I don't think that they have as much confidence in what James Gunn is doing right now. I really don't think so. I think that if they did, that they would just be allowing him to just keep pushing the ship in a very specific way. But now they're saying, you got to put the Wonder Woman project out there. You got to, Matt Reeves, hey, start working on Batman Part 2. Or, hey, I know they have another Batman movie that are working in the DCU. Let's start working on that one. It's like, I would not be surprised if those are the kinds of conversations being had right now. Because, let's be perfectly honest, Superman is going to do okay. It's not going to be a bomb. It's not going to be great. It's going to be okay. And that's not great for this universe as a starting point. I've said before, this film has carrying the expectations of what Batman vs Superman has. It's the same. Okay, the investments are not the same, but the expectations I know are the same. So for this to hit 700 million, it's not a great start. It's just not. So I think that this is going to follow a very similar fate that the Snyderverse had, which is that it's going to have a couple of years because, companies, once they invest, they usually invest, for a few years down the pipe. There's already projects already lined up. We have a Supergirl, we have a Clayface. We're probably going to have a Batman, a Wonder Woman out there. That's what it seems like is going to be the fate, like another, like maybe 5 or 6 years. Tops, And then at that point, we're probably going to fall back to what we did before, doing standalone projects, and then they're probably going to try to do another universe again. It's just... It's just that they have been leading with these so-called visionaries. So what? Zack Snyder doing what he was trying to do, James Gunn trying to do what he was trying to do. You need to just operate with the understanding of what audiences want and not what these people want to do with these projects, because that clearly is not working. Clearly it's not doing the kinds of business that it needs to do. So yeah, I said in the Superman recap, also in the box office discussion, I don't think this was a good starting point. I don't think the Superman is necessarily the face that you need to start this universe off with. I think that you needed someone like a Batman or a Wonder Woman, because those characters carry a lot more popularity than Superman does. It's just the truth. Sorry to break any Superman fans' hearts out there, but that's just the truth. So just look at the box office results. I mean, that just alone proves that. So, but yeah, I would say give this another 5 or 6 years, but I don't think that this is going to pan out any larger than that. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe things will turn around. Maybe Superman will do a little more than I think it will. I doubt it at this point. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how things pan out for the future. So. Speaking of the future, going from DC to Marvel now, let's talk about where the MCU is going. Now, the MCU has had a couple of rough spots as of late. The past few years have not been great for Marvel. They've had some shining spots here and there, Deadpool, Wolverine probably being their biggest one. But this year especially, it's not been good. None of their films have made any money. Captain America has not made any money. Thunderbolts didn't make them any money. And we'll see how Fantastic Four does. I have my doubts with that one. Um, but according to multiple sources, Kevin Feige, who you guys know is the head of Marvel Studios, he has unveiled during an interview he conducted at his own office to a selection of like journalists and stuff like that. He has revealed that the MCU will be heading towards a quote reset after the events of Avengers Secret Wars in 2027. So, according to Kevin Feige, the plan is to recast many established actors or many established characters in order to initiate the proposed reboot, carving out potentially a new path for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The first of which, according to Kevin Feige, will involve recasting many of the established / original X-Men characters. So, like Patrick Stewart and a lot of these other players that you've seen throughout the MCU in this latest phase and stuff like that, and of course who are going to appear in the new Avengers films. They are going to be replaced with brand new actors for the upcoming X-Men film, which is being helmed by Jake Sherry, who just recently helmed Thunderbolts, which I enjoyed. Thunderbolts, but that's what they're planning to do as at least the first initiation of this reset. And beyond that, beyond those established movies, any movies that they're working on, legacy characters like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, they will also be recast sometime down the line, according to Kevin Feige. But there are some exceptions, according to him. People like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, they are planning to still work with beyond Secret Wars. But yeah, so sounds like that they are going towards something of a reboot. So it sounds like if you guys are, I'll kind of show my nerdy side for a little bit here. If you guys are familiar with the DC Comics story, the Flashpoint paradox, if you know your history about the DC movies, like that the Flash movie that they were trying to do of Ezra Miller, that was supposed to be a reset button. That was them trying to salvage what they had and then try to reintroduce new elements, basically have their cake and eat it too. And well, the Flash ended up becoming one of the biggest bombs, if not the biggest bomb in the superhero genre. And that didn't happen. So then they went forward with James Gunn's vision, and there at that point they already were going with James Gunn's vision, but the Flash was intended to be something else, and well, that didn't happen. So here's the thing. Kevin Feige, when he claims, because he was talking about how he wouldn't use the phrase reboot when he's referring to this to these plans. Here's the thing: when he claims that, he's honestly not wrong. He is right. What he is doing is not rebooting. What he is doing is actually cherry picking. He's essentially looking at properties that are within this universe and saying which ones are financially stable and which ones aren't generating a lot of money for us. That's what this is. That's why Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are staying, because Deadpool Wolverine went off to do $1 billion, and why other actors are going to be getting the boot. It's basically a case of what have you done for me lately, and also a case of what will you do for me? You know what I mean? Like those kinds of phrases. That's essentially the talk of what Kevin Feige is getting at, So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like, especially if he's saying that, like, oh, we're going to recast Tony Stark, we're going to recast Steve Rogers. Sounds like to me those actors aren't really as keen to stick around after these new Avengers movies. And Marvel is clearly wanting to reestablish these characters because of the money they've received from them in the past. So that's what it sounds like. That's the only, because of just, if my theory is correct, if that is the case that these actors are no longer interested to continue forward with, their characters after these movies are done, the only other way, if the company wants to reestablish these characters, is to basically reboot. That's the only way you can do it. So, or recast the roles. So, it's basically what James Gunn's doing with the DC universe. Some things will go and some things will stay. And in this case, though, at least with how James Gunn's doing things, his is more within a vein of creativity, I would say. What he's trying to like craft there with this is all financially motivated. This all goes towards, looking at properties and saying, okay, the Guardians will stay, but the X-Men gotta go. These characters can stay, but those characters have to go. Like, that's essentially what is happening here. And it just goes to show you that the damaged state that the MCU is in, and their desperation to get audiences back in like waves. Like, they really are trying to get back to the days of 2019, and they're not going to get that anymore. They're not. I mean, audiences at this point are just very fickle, and also the MCU as it stands, there's just not a story. There's just not. Right now, there's something of a story because it's just rushing to the finish line. And we all know that, of course, there was their issues that happened with Jonathan Majors, and that completely butchered plans for them because they were building the whole universe around him, which I thought was stupid. I don't think you should be doing that sort of thing. Take a note from how you did Thanos. Like, keep him in the background. Don't have him be in the forefront. Don't have him be so vital to when you remove him, then it just fucks everything up, But they end up doing that, and well, we see the results from that, which is, it's pretty aimless, So I really doubt that a reboot, though, is the answer. I really don't think that's the answer here. If anything, I actually think that may distance people more, given the fact that actors that they love aren't playing these roles anymore. Like, you're now going to have to tell people, yeah, that's Iron Man, but now this guy's playing him. It's not Robert Downey Jr. That's Captain America, but now this guy's playing him. It's not Chris Evans. Like, you know what I mean? And I read that apparently, it's not like a complete, like I said, it's not a complete wipe. Some characters will stay, some characters not. I think Chris Hemsworth, he mentioned, would still be around as Thor. It's like it just sounds messy. The logic just sounds really messy. It just sounds, again, like the whole point of establishing canon and establishing, like, I don't personally care about that stuff, but it's just like, it just shows to me that the concern for consistency, the concern for quality, the concern of all these things, it's not the priority. It's just more about what's going to make us money at this point. And that's just basically the language of it, and that is just, that's sad. That's really sad. It shows they have no faith in the path that they've laid out, and they don't have faith in the newbies leading their projects. And I don't blame them, because the box office shows that it's just not working. But I believe that rebooting at this point will actually do more damage than good. I don't think that it will. I can understand to some capacity, considering the fact that this is nearly a 20-year-old franchise. I mean, really think about it. This franchise started in 2008. I mean, it's been 17 years with this universe. So I can understand why a conversation like that might occur. But considering the state that this series is in right now, the constant failures and the disappointments at the box office lately, this just reeks of desperation more than anything else. And most people can see through the cracks. It's just so obvious, So, yeah. So I think that it's kind of silly, and I think that basically they're just trying to find a way to, like, how can we do an Iron Man 4? How can we do another Captain America? How can we do all these things? They're doing all these things in the hopes that running these names, this name value, will suffice. And that's, it's not going to work. It's just not going to. You have to establish things. You have to make people care. That's the quality of it. It has to work. But also, fatigue is real again. Like I've said before, the fatigue is real. People are just getting exhausted with this genre. They are just tired of it. Marvel is just kind of the epitome of that. Just again, it's not just 20, like over 30 movies. There's like all these TV shows also that exist now. It's just too much. It's just too much. And that's why people are just checked out. So I don't think a reboot's going to do anything different. So yeah. So I think that this is a dying series, to be frank. I just think that they know it too. I think that they're trying their best to salvage it. And I think that at this point it's more just, okay, let's just create things. Forget about storylines, just create things basically. And that's where DC shines. I don't know if that's where Marvel will shine. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But I seriously doubt that rebooting or basically cherry picking is going to do any favors down the line for your audiences and just narratively. I just don't think it's going to work in your favor. So those are my thoughts on that. Alrighty, let's get into some little news bits here and there. Of course, the biggest story of the week, by far and away the biggest story of the week, according to Variety, a live action adaptation of My Little Pony is in development. A live action adaptation of the My Little Pony franchise is in development at Amazon Studios with Hasbro Entertainment involved on the project. According to Variety, there is no current creative team attached at this time or any release date either. So, as much as I want to say that there would be an audience for this, because trust me, I mean, there is a fan base for My Little Pony. It's not just for kids. There's a whole like side of this, that exists. Bronies, you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's a whole side there, that exists in the vein of like a Barbie, which we'll also get into in a second. But I don't think that. I just don't think the approach, just by pitch, just from what I've just literally a live action adaptation of this, I don't think that that's the right approach. If you were to announce an animated feature, it'd be more fitting, given just what the source material literally is. But adapting it into live action, not only is that just so tiresome at this point, like how many times do we hear about a live action treatment of something? It happens so many times, and it's rarely pays off. Or at least financially, I mean, it pays off a lot of the time, so that's why they do it a lot of the time. But narratively speaking, and just quality-wise, it just really doesn't do much of anything. But it's, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to put off a lot of people, depending on how they literally craft it. But who knows? I don't know. I don't think it's the right approach, honestly. I understand that they're doing it this way to create the most interest because of a leap to a different format that creates a juicy headline that gets butts in seats. But I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to do any genuine business more than producing an animated feature. I think you just have better odds in that format, sticking with what is, than trying to do a big leap. So, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be completely wrong on this. We'll just have to wait and see. So, speaking of Barbie, according to Deadline, Mattel Studios and Illumination are partnering up to produce an animated feature around the Barbie series. The film will be distributed and financed through Universal Pictures, and currently at this time there is no creative team involved, nor no release date at this time. This is very interesting because, we thought for a while that they would, WB would be moving forward with a sequel to the live action film. And you would think so because of the fact of it making $1 billion and, being the highest grossing film that year. This is honestly kind of shocking to me. I I mean, I highly doubt that WB is wanting to lose out on the potential for a sequel, especially, like I said, just the fact that it is made over $1 billion. I doubt that they're wanting to lose out on it. From what I read, it's more to do with the creative team. It seems more of the fact that they're just not interested in doing it. Margot Robbie is like, I won't do it. It's from if Greta Gerwig's not going to do it. Greta Gerwig's like, I'm not really interested in doing it. As far as what I read, um, from what I remember reading, um, it, in that sense, you can see where the company would have doubts moving forward if a different creative was placed at the helm and a potentially a different star as the title character. It's more of a gamble in that way, and I could see why WB may be content with not pushing forward with another movie, or they may just pull the trigger. Like, who knows? Who knows? Um, but uh, I mean, as far as I can tell, anyway. I mean, Mattel doesn't have any established exclusive deals with any distributors. I mean, I believe Masters of the Universe, right, is a Mattel project. Um, just to be sure, right? Masters of the Universe. I'm pretty sure it's Mattel. Um, who owns Mattel? Or who owns Mattel? Who owns they did the comics. Do they own the property? Rights owners. Who owns Master Universe? Mattel. Yeah. Um, so and with that movie, Masters of the Universe, that's being worked on through Amazon. So they clearly don't have any exclusive deals with any distributors. You know, that's why they can license out their IPs to different companies. So that's also why Universal is getting a bite out of the Barbie series. But again, it just seems odd, you know, because you would think that WB would really want to put out another movie, you know, and I'm pretty sure they still want to. I'm pretty sure. But I just think that at this moment in time, it's just hard to pull that trigger when your top creatives aren't wanting to participate, you know? And if those are the reasons why that movie made over $1 billion, it's like, yeah, I could see why they're maybe a little hesitant. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I just don't think it's happening anytime soon, based on what I've read. As for this, like this idea of doing animation, I mean, it makes sense given what just came out. You know, literally a live action adaptation, literally like 2 years ago. Just to subvert the expectation or to do something different. Yeah, do animation, because having to essentially reboot, you know, and if you're doing the same format again, I can get why that would be again in the case of how they're trying to pitch another Barbie film, the next basically Barbie 2. It's again a gamble. So doing animation is also not as costly. It's a different format, you know, to present this kind of basically that of a reboot, so it makes sense. I will not care to see it because I could have cared less about the Barbie movie. I really did not like it. But we'll see how this develops. We'll see who they decide to get to helmet and star in it. We'll see how this affects things at WB, because it's very interesting how we haven't heard anything about a Barbie 2. It's very, very interesting. So we'll see how it all pans out. I just find it interesting that that is the news that comes out about Barbie and not the announcement of a Barbie 2. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what the future holds for the Barbie series. We'll just have to wait and see. Speaking of reboots, we have yet another reboot on the way from another series. That series being Judge Dredd. According to multiple sources, Taika Waititi, who you guys know from movies such as Thor Ragnarok and, of course, Jojo Rabbit, he is reportedly seeking to helm a reboot of the Judge Dredd series. Now, they do not have a distributor attached to this project at the time. They're currently shopping it around Hollywood. But Drew Pearce, who you guys know who's written movies such as Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation and The Fall Guy, he'll be writing the screenplay. So, so this is just a pitch, basically. Right now, um, there's no confirmation yet of anything. It's just basically something being thrown around right now. I don't see where this makes sense in a modern age today. I really don't. Again, it smells of desperation from these these this specifically these Hollywood filmmakers to just cling on to something, to just find work essentially, and that is what it seems like in the case of Taika Waititi, because he's done nothing more than working around the lot. It seems Disney's lot, especially. Um, like he had a chance to do something different with that Akira project, and he decided to do nothing with it. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, if it were to be a continuation of like Carl Urban's version, I could see maybe some financial promise, given the fact that Carl Urban is, still he's kind of a notable name with the boys and a certain movie that I'll get into in a second. Um, but rebooting it just does this little favors. Like I just don't know who's going to care. It'll likely get picked up because of who's involved, just the talent that is involved behind it. I just don't know if anyone's really going to see this, and I don't think anyone was really asking for this to begin with. So, those are my thoughts on that. So, alrighty, we got a couple of trailers to discuss for today, and then we're going to call it a day. So, let's get into it. So the first trailer we're going to discuss, as I kind of alluded to with discussing Judge Dredd, is the official trailer for Mortal Kombat II. By the way, if you hear some squeaking or weird noises, that's just my chair. I'm not farting, just so you know. I know it sounds like that. It's just my chair. But Mortal Kombat 2 is on the way. This stars Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. Louis Tang returns, and Hiroyoka Sanada, I butchered the hell out of the name, sorry, amongst other names here and there. It's being directed once again by Simon McCoy, who directed the first Mortal Kombat from 2021, and this has a release date of October 24th, 2025. So, I personally did not really care for the original, or the remake, reboot. Didn't really care for it. Never saw the original movies from the 90s. This appears to be more catering towards fan service than anything. More so than what I remember of the original. I'm not huge on the game, so I can't tell you if this is indeed more fan service. It just has that feeling. And I'm not that convinced by what's being shown. I didn't really care for the original, and I don't care for the source material, so this really does little to win me over as a general audience member. As someone who might be playing the games, I can see why someone might be a little bit more interested just by the visual flair that's happening there, but just doesn't really do much for me. So, but that being said, I would not be surprised if this does well, just because of just what it is. It's a well-known name. It's coming out outside of the summer season as well, meaning there's very little competition. I don't think October has a lot happening. I think outside of The Conjuring. So, yeah, I could care less, personally. It just really doesn't do anything for me. So yeah. I think financially there's promise, but narratively, I think I've seen this story before already. I think they told it in the first movie, and now they're just literally telling it again. It is, as it is titled, it is Mortal Kombat 2. It's more of what the 2021 version was. And I don't remember a whole lot of the original, so yeah. So, yeah. I don't really care. I just doesn't really do much for me. So, all right. Next trailer we have is the teaser trailer for Hoppers. This is the next in the Pixar films. Of course, coming off Elio, which did not do well at all. This is starring Piper Curda, Bobby Maininhan, sorry, I butchered the hell out of that name, and John Hamm. It's being written and directed by Daniel Chung. Daniel Chung, right? Did I say his name? Daniel Chung. Sorry if I said it again wrong. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just probably saying it wrong. He is known for directing a movie called We Bare Bears, also creating the show of the same name. This has a release date of March 6, 2026. It appears to have more in common with Turning Red than anything else, and I wasn't particularly crazy about Turning Red. It's to say that it's approaching it in a pretty frank manner. It seems rather simplistic, kind of taking that phrase, going against your nature in a literal sense, just kind of turning the animals, their natural habits, kind of now subverting that, changing that, trying to be more than just that. And there's this energetic and kind of modern day language being thrown, this kind of Gen Z type of flair. It's just not really my cup of tea. It's really not. I don't know how this will do. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because just the track record for Pixar now, you have two features lately that have just not been doing well. So, and both are original based films. We have Elemental and Elio. Of course, other films which came out, which are established franchises, do a lot better. So we'll see. We'll see how something like this does. I'm not particularly loving what I'm seeing. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be won over. I always like to give Pixar a chance. I personally like Elio, so maybe I just need to see another trailer. But as far as what I'm seeing, not really digging it. Not really digging it. So, and finally, we have the official trailer for a film called After the Hunt. This stars Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield, Ayo Edebiri, sorry if I butchered your name, Michael Stolberg, and Chloe Sevigny. I think that's how you say her name. This is being directed by Luca Guadagnino, who we've talked about a few times on this channel. Done films in the past, such as Call Me By Your Name, Bones and All, which we did a review for. Wasn't particularly crazy about it. Also did Challengers, which I really was not a big fan of. And most recently did a film called Queer with Daniel Craig. This has a release date, a worldwide release date, for October 17th, 2025. I think there's a limited release on October 10th, if I'm not mistaken. But I gotta say, I'm actually very intrigued by the ambiguity, the framework of this narrative, because it appears to be, because it's a scandalous narrative. It's also a scandalous environment. Because there's tons of accusations and speculations, and it appears to be allowing these perspectives to kind of take shape without basically cherry picking which ones we should be. It'll allow us to hear. I'm getting that same kind of intrigue that I had when watching Anatomy of a Fall, which I thought was very good. But the difference between this and Anatomy of a Fall would be that Anatomy of a Fall was a lot more focused. It was a lot more driven by the confine of a specific perspective. And it was more, I think, more of a study of behavior. In the case of that movie, it was more of a study of narcissism, really. And I thought it was just really, really interesting, fascinating. This looks like it's taking that idea, because Anatomy of a Fall is also in a very scandalous type environment. This is also taking that same kind of idea, the same sort of approach, the same sort of concept, but it's more flexible than what Anatomy of a Fall was. And that may in fact lead to some more interesting ideas in some ways. But it all falls to its execution. And I'm not the biggest on Guadagnino as of late. Like I said, I have not been crazy about a lot of his movies. Um, yeah, so we'll see. I definitely will keep an eye on it though, because it definitely appears to be different from what I've seen of Guadagnino as of late. Because Guadagnino has been very stylistic. I don't know if that's just how he functions normally, or if that's just how he has been lately. But this seems a little bit more of a step back. This seems a little bit more of a breath of fresh air. Um, and I welcome it. I like this more just subtle and just more kind of just genuinely disturbing, but also kind of just more like just more vague, expression. I like that. I like that more than just what we was doing with Challengers and Bones and all, which I felt were just more driven by style than anything, and just really didn't win me over. So we'll see. This all falls to its direct execution, so I'll definitely keep an eye on it, and we'll see how it all pans out. So. But yeah, those are my thoughts for this week, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. A little bit of a long video, just had a ton of things to talk about. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below in regards to all these topics, with your guys' thoughts on Smurfs, how it did financially, your thoughts on both the future of DC and Marvel in terms of their individual universes, your thoughts on a My Little Pony film in live action, your thoughts on Barbie getting an animated feature, potentially no Barbie 2 for a hot minute, your thoughts on Judge Dredd getting a reboot, Mortal Kombat 2 trailer, the Hoppers trailer, and the After the Hunt trailer. I'm not gonna talk about Tron Ares just because I just kind of want to leave that. I feel like the teaser gave me enough of a taste. I don't want to spoil it with too much details, so I'm not gonna check out that new trailer. But let me know all your thoughts on all these topics in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.